So looking at the profile, this is where you can then start to deconstruct, again, these networks. LinkedIn is very good for isolating and capitalizing on connectivity, expertise, identifying certain processes. So point one up there is, it seems obvious, but LinkedIn, one of the things that they won't let you manipulate as much as anywhere else is the name. And it has to look and sound and act like a name. It has to be consistent. So again, what you can find is maybe somebody spelt their name slightly different, maybe they've fabricated it, but essentially their name will remain their passport and their identity consistently throughout most of these social networks. Point two, again, it's a great validation between images. You can see how recent the image is, whether it's consistent with other images as you do broader search. You can also interrogate the metadata or the source code to see what the name of that particular photo is. If you go into view source, and you can see in some instances, not so much on this one, but in many instances you can also interrogate the image and find out what the .jpeg file is called, and there may be clues to help you in your intelligence collection or background profiling. Point three tells you the location and the industry and so on that they're in. Point four, any recent updates that they may have communicated, they may have tweeted. So again, for corporate profiles who either want to monitor or want to have some insight on their individuals, corporates, potential employees, all those sorts of things, it gives you a bit of an overview and consistency to see how long and how consistent the overall profile has been running. Point five, again, shows sort of current employment, roles, responsibilities, ownership, all those sorts of things. Point six, shows the background, the pedigree and the history of the individual or the individuals. So again, you can start to form direct and indirect networks and overviews of how this all comes together. A very convenient mapping process to deconstruct networks and collaboration, both from a marketing perspective, because remembering this is all not just about profit, not about suspicion, but this is also about profitability, engagement, networks. You can utilize it in this sense as well. Point seven, again, this is the social validation, not only just how many followers and connections individuals have, but have they been endorsed and recommended? And again, if there's something not quite right and the individual's got no picture, 2 connections, no recommendations, then there's immediate grounds for suspicion. Perhaps they haven't optimized, perhaps they don't understand it, perhaps they're too old for that sort of thing, who knows, until you dig further. But social validation through recommendations is also good because it also gives you timelines, where they worked, what they were doing at the time of those recommendations. Point eight, the websites and the connections, where does all of this fit in? Is LinkedIn a standalone? Do they use it as their own personal platform, or is it connected to their websites, Facebook, YouTube, and a bunch of other things? Point nine, again, the convenience of being able to deconstruct many of these processes is that a lot of these social networks encourage and allow for you to have specific detail that you can reverse engineer all of their networks specifically from there. If they've surrendered them up, you can then validate and do due diligence and background checks and pre-employment screening and all those sorts of things that are basic common sense in this day and age. But you can also determine whether they've deliberately sought to hide those details or there's inconsistencies in their profiles. Point 10, the most recent activities, where they've been, what they've done, what they're reading, what they've updated. Some of these things will automatically harvest the information and publish it, sometimes without their understanding. Many people have been caught afoul of updates that they didn't realize that were going out because they were connected somewhere. And even through experimentation, we get things that pop up every now and again because we've been experimenting or beta testing, and then all of a sudden it harvests some information, it pops up somewhere in an inappropriate location. One client starts promoting another, and you've quickly got to change it. So it happens to everybody, and it can be because of the way these tools the way these tools interact. But it's also an indication as to the character of the individual, their expertise, who they're communicating, what they're talking about, whether they're pro or negative. So establishing a sense of moral compass and all those sorts of things, this can be quite helpful for. And point 11 down the bottom, a summary of the individual. Again, depending on how complete and comprehensive their profile is, will give you insight into the individual, the organization, and the trustworthiness, and whether they've got alibis and aliases and all those sorts of things. This will help, and increasingly, this is one of those tools that helps break down the veil of what they may appear and may have a certain persona on Facebook, but what they do on LinkedIn is completely different. So you get a better cross-section of the character of the individual, whether it be the individual, whether it be the company, whether it be a clique, a cohort, a particular group of individuals. Again, this gives you insight, both from a sales and marketing perspective. Are they the people that you're targeting for sales and so on, or are they the people representing the organisation as they claim to be, or are they just janitorial, or their sentiment towards you and everything else? And again, it's a quite insightful process. So we really can't talk about social media without covering SEO, the search engine optimization. And for those that have thought what that is, go back to my previous comments of English and maths. In its simplest and rawest form, search engine optimization is about being true and consistent to a key word or collective group of words and the mathematics and the volume associated with it. So it's as simple as that in its rawest form. The search engines are in the business of matching results with inquiries, and search engine optimization is a game. It's a game that's played by the search engines to make it a better process to interpret and forecast what it is you're looking for. At the same time, marketers are trying to be the number one solution when they come back, and at the same time, some people have just fallen backwards into the solution, and they've ended up where they are. And then over time, they'll find out that as their niche or their area gets taken over by more informed and more capable individuals, they'll wonder why revenues drop and traffic and phone calls and a whole bunch of other things. Social media is also in this particular space. Some people will deliberately create social media campaigns to dominate, to influence and overcome the search engine process. So it's important you understand it, because both from a push communications process as well as how you're perceived by the general public depends on who they see first. And if your campaign and your solution is 10 pages deep on a Google search, it's going to be far less pervasive and informative than someone who's number 1 through to 10, simply because they're there first and they're using quite possibly search engine optimization, or they've deliberately or accidentally struck the right formula to achieve that outcome. So here's one particular tool. If we look at a cross-section location on one of the areas where we were giving a similar presentation on this, and we look at Market Samurai, which is a great tool. It's undergoing a number of changes, so much of what you see here may have changed or been updated at various stages. So just looking at point 1. So let's say we've looked at somewhere like Kuala Lumpur real estate. So let's say we're a procurement department. We're trying to analyse a particular individual who's leasing property to us, or we're looking to buy, or we've got factories, or a whole bunch of other things that you may be looking for. Now, this is just real estate. This could be a much broader context, any keyword. Point number 2 on the left-hand side, keyword research. So this starts to aggregate, this starts to formalize a number of things that we've done through Google Insights, Google Keyword Research, AdWords, pay-per-click, all those sorts of things. This standardizes it in a single dashboard, and I thoroughly recommend this tool to anybody. If you go to my website, you'll see that there's a discounted offer there for this particular tool, and we use it on a daily basis. Point 3. You'll see specifics, the related search terms coming back from a broader search. So we've got for sale, a house for sale, Kuala Lumpur hotel. And then point 4, we can see the particular traffic, how many times a day these terms are being looked for. And point 5 gives us insight as to the volume. So we can get a sense of how often and how frequent and how big this particular market is before we dive in and we start to look at the results, or someone who claims to be an expert in this particular area. This is also great for our own brand and our own product, because then we can see derivatives of what people are saying about us, or a particular location, what's popular, what's trending, and what's the number 1 or number 2 listing. And point 6 up the top there is you can segment this across daily, monthly, or even annual search terms. So this one is daily. So we're talking 2,000 searches per day. So we're nearly 60 to 70,000 searches per month for property in KL in this particular instance. So what this now does is it gives us an insight as to how relevant a provider is. It gives us validation on our purchasing, our business discussions, or it can raise some questions. So point 1, when we're looking at for sale property, Point 2, we can see the URL of the website. So as we go scroll down there, 1, 2, 3, number 3 is rightmove.co.uk. So this is a site that's located in a completely different locale. It's popular because they're clearly appealing to expatriates. They've got either property there, they've got personnel there, but they're coming up at number 3. Now that requires further analysis. They could accidentally be number 3. This search was done from within KL at the time. This is a Malaysian-based search. Why is a UK company? Are they targeting this as an expanded market opportunity, or are they a scam site? You don't know until you start to analyse. Point 4, you'll see we start to go across into the coloured graph sections, and the coloured graph sections here indicate things like the age of the website, how many connections it's got, the backlinks, which is how many other websites link back to it, or it also references things like government and education backlinks, which is, again, it gives it that greater sense of authority. And as you can see, across the board, this website scores very, very highly, and the more red, the stronger they are, the more legitimate, or more on topic, I should say. The more green, the less on topic, and the weaker they are in terms of a competitive overview. But you can see this website is consistent. It's about what they're talking about. So as a buyer, as an individual, it's got a significant degree of legitimacy about it when compared to lower in the list or anything not on the first page. And you can plug and play and compare websites and do all those sorts of things and do cross analysis to determine how effective and relevant all of those results are. But this is a great insight into determining and pulling apart everything from competitors to providers to your own business, and basically getting an understanding of where the world sees you and what category you and providers and benefactors and boards and takeover and all those sorts of things, where they sit. This is a great health check for any organisation. And point 5 is whether they've been legally registered on things like the DMOS directories or on Yahoo directories and so on. So again, you can start to get a sense of the on-page and the off-page. Now, the on-page is things like how well is their website constructed, does it use keywords, has it got backlinks? Off-page stuff is, does everyone else talk about it? How long has it been around for? All those sorts of things that you can't necessarily control. You may influence, but really you're in the hands of the community at large. So it's a great way of understanding how effective you have been yourself, where your start point is, or when dealing with vendors and providers and crises and so on. So again, it's a great means of doing a standardized health test across all sectors.